It's better to go rogue. I'd much rather be a ghost. It's like hyperconnectivity these days dilutes your presence. So any of y'all who are listening to this video, I dare you to disappear for 6 months to a year in order to actualize all of your long-term goals. You're not missing anything, trust me. I've decided to fade to black just for the simple fact that anytime that you're overexposed to something, notice that you start to take it for granted. Think about the relationships you had where, let's say you're a guy and you were with a girl that showed you mad interest and was always hitting up your phone. It became easier for you to slowly but surely stop hitting her back as much as she was hitting you up, right? Anytime that someone was overly nice to you, you found yourself getting a little bit colder towards them. So your presence is something that is really valued if you know how to complement it with absence. There was a saying that Napoleon, I guess he used to really frequent the theater, or he was a big fan of the theater, and he only showed up every once in a while, even though he would, on his own, really like to go daily. And one person asked him, why don't you frequent the theater as much as you basically have a passion for it? Why are you only coming every once in a while? And he said, if I come to the theater as often I would like, I would no longer be seen. So that's something very profound if you think about it, because it's the absolute truth. Anybody who's seen very often tends to lose the allure. It's similar to when you have a hero in your mind. You have them on a pedestal, but God forbid you meet this hero, because chances are he or she will actually be brought down from the pedestal as you notice their flaws or notice that they're not larger than life as you had them in your head. So I'd rather be a ghost. You also have more time for inner discovery when you're not on the social scene. This gives you time to actually connect with yourself, and it allows you to raise your value due to the principle of scarcity. Think about some of the products and services that people are willing to spend so much money for. It's usually some level of exclusivity that keeps it from the larger market being able to get their hands on it. If you take a store like, I know you guys have probably heard of Shein, that's where a lot of girls are ordering their clothes. Or if you look at something like Primark, their business model is focused on low, cheap, affordable, accessible clothing for anybody to be able to get their hands on. So they have to focus on selling a huge volume of arguably low quality products in order to have, let's say, even half or a fraction of the revenue of something like Louis Vuitton, which is priced so high that only certain people will be able to access their services or products. So my favorite saying has always been that Ferrari and Lamborghini, Rolls Royce, some of the highest marques, they don't even have commercials. So I liken myself to the same thing. Not saying I'm a Ferrari, but it's the simple fact that I don't feel the need to advertise myself. Of course, I have this YouTube channel. And the idea is to connect with like minds. I really truly enjoy the fact that my channel isn't huge. You know what I mean? There's something exclusive about it, and there's only a select few people who might have the same mindset. And those are the people that I'm talking to let you know that you're on the right path to go rogue and be off the radar and just be a ghost. Because another bonus that you get from such a mentality is that you have increased attraction, since the time off the scene can be used for your own cultivation. Since I started making my content, you guys remember I was doing security work in Kuwait. Then I pivoted into becoming an instructor. Then I left Kuwait, basically following my heart with the idea to jump into another industry, which coincidentally was going to be trucking. I plan to actually open up a business with my brother after I got my CDL and gained some experience on the road. Then I pivoted into the current industry that I'm in, which happens to be IT. Now there's another big change coming down the pipe, and of course, I don't need to elaborate on that until it becomes reality. But I'm pretty much at the tail end of making that next transition happen. And I've only been able to focus and make all of these lofty ideals into reality by falling off the scene and going rogue. Another thing that being a ghost will allow you to do is it aligns you with the warrior spirit of past men. So I've already said in numerous other videos that we're in a very comfortable time. You know, it's arguable that people who are considered low class or poor still are able to enjoy a lot of the creature comforts of royalty from back in the day. So we're in a paradigm where comfort is actually the catalyst as to why people are reveling in mediocrity, where people don't achieve greatness because they don't even have the difficulty that's needed in order to push them to, see what they're made of. If you're the average person, you sit down when you're at work. You're inside of a comfortable building. You don't sweat. You get off work. You probably hop in your car. You drive home. You maybe take a few steps. Now you're back inside of another man structure, which is your home. You're also not sweating at home. Everything that you actually have to do that past humans had to do, you have some type of machine or service to take over the work for you. So you're actually dying a slow death of 1,000 paper cuts because you don't ever have to struggle or push or see what you're made of. So there's this effect that's taking place where if you are actually like a ghost, you get to fight against this effect. You get to, let's say, focus on challenging yourself or understanding that past men had certain things in place that will allow them to achieve greatness. So I talked about this in my video called Intentional Suffering. When you're off the scene and you're not scrolling on your phone all day and just sitting around watching Netflix and stuff like this, you might have extra time to now decide you want to challenge your brain, challenge your mind, challenge your spirit, challenge any aspect of your life where the average person is becoming too comfortable. You get to reverse this effect and go into things that are hard. Another thing that I definitely think a lot of men can probably relate to here is that when you go rogue and you become more of a ghost, you have silence and solitude, which bring you inner peace. And I can't even put a price tag on inner peace. There are people who are rich, famous, have all the allure and all of the prestige you can imagine, but they're not at peace. So it's like, in a way, they lost everything that's ever valuable because inside they're constantly in a state of chaos. My guys who are in a relationship, how many times have you, let's say, maybe spent time away from your woman and you realize that you were starting to reach a level of equilibrium? You felt better in a way because you didn't have someone nagging you, or you didn't have somebody constantly just blurting off so many words per minute in their emotional state. Men are usually more logical, all things being equal. So when you have solitude and inner peace, or solitude and silence, you have inner peace that you gain from that. And this allows you to now go forward with anything that you want to conquer with a more clear head. Also, let's not forget that if you go rogue, you always gonna have the power of mystery on your side. When people can't really pinpoint where you are, when they frequent places that you used to maybe show up to and now you don't go anymore, it only begs the question, hey, what's up with so-and-so? You know what I mean? And when you're intentionally off the radar like this, you have all the things that I just mentioned working in your favor, but you also have mystery adding to your appeal. Like, we're in a time where everybody's accessible. So sometimes the opposite is exactly what we need. It's to be inaccessible. It's to be unavailable. You have a phone in your pocket that I don't think other generations can understand how it was for us growing up. I'm in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. So I know what it's like to, for example, have a phone ringing and you don't know who's on the other line. Then the advent of caller ID. Now you could scan who it was unless they called private. Then you had, cell phones that started to come out, which means, before someone will call you and you were, let's say, at work, they called your house phone, hey, you're unavailable. So whenever you got a chance, you would get back to them. But now you have cell phones, which tell you who's calling, where are the numbers from. You got text messages, you got social media, you got all these snapshots of your life that you've uploaded for anybody in the world to be able to see. So they feel like they're always connected to you. Think about the effect of you not being available. You have mystery aiding you. Another thing about going rogue, you'll minimize a lot of brainless entertainment, which I also call mental fragmentation. Things like TikTok and stuff like this. We all are going to fall victim to it because these algorithms and all these things that are dealing with technology, you got to understand that there's data scientists, there's researchers, there are people who are very, very intelligent in their field, and they study what has the best effect based on trials and experimentation that they're doing with these apps. So it's easy for them to pinpoint exactly how they can keep more people engaged and looking at their phone. So we're all becoming more and more connected to our devices, and we'll never know the effect of how bad this is until years pass and we go back into the past. Like years go by, then we go back into the past because the effects will have to take years to develop for us to notice a pattern. But what I can predict is that a lot of people, their brain is being fragmented where they can't really focus on anything at length because they're so used to an unbelievable amount of novelty. You know what I mean? So the more you go rogue and the more you're off the scene, even away from technology and connecting with nature, things of this sort, it will help you to equalize your brain and come back to some type of normal standpoint. Another thing about going rogue, being a ghost, it gives you a lot of depth in a time of shallowness. So there's an effect that's happening where whenever you talk with people, you can kind of peep it. The conversation is very choppy. Like most people can't really go in depth into a conversation because they're looking for the next best thing. Even when you look at their body language and their behavior, it's something that I'm noticing where a lot of people are fidgety. There's a nervous energy that's coursing through their veins. And I'm able to pinpoint this not even in conversations that I'm in, just observing and paying attention to the state of affairs around me. It only makes sense that people will lose their depth if there's constantly some distraction that seems new and interesting. You know what I mean? It's like trying to talk with a kid who can't wait to play with a toy. How fidgety and antsy they look when they are, engaged with you at the moment. That's what I'm seeing across the board with a lot of people out in society. So I feel a really strong internal pull to go opposite of where I see most people going, which is to go rogue or become a ghost. And last but not least, probably the biggest point I can make, going rogue allows you to boost your masculinity. I don't even need to go into a point on that. Just when you look out into the world, especially if you're living in a Western country, don't you notice that there's a huge decline in masculine principles? And you can see how the lack of that masculine presence is causing everything to go on decline as an effect. You're seeing more and more women who are talking loud and disrespectful and out of the side of their neck without the fear of shame or being checked. You're seeing more and more men go towards the homosexual transgender side of things. And even if they don't do that, they have a lot of feminine tendencies. You're not seeing too many people who are stoic. You're not coming across many men who carry themselves with a level of sophistication or aiming to be regal. The dress game is also something that I feel is sad to see such a decline. It's sad to see, pictures of us men from the 1950s where we're wearing suits, long sleeve shirts, ties, hair slicked back, face clean shaven. There's something regal about our appearance back then. And then you look at us now and everybody's wearing basically tennis shoes, sweats, t-shirts. There's no event where people are getting dressed up or feeling the need to up their decorum. So speech is on decline. The use of slang is on the incline. Original thought is on the decline. People parroting thoughts and emotional responses is on the incline. So there are a lot of things happening, and I can pinpoint it to a loss of masculinity. So reversing that would be boosting your masculinity while you revel in your solitude, and you're more of a ghost who's gone rogue off of the social scene.